Welcome to the Ruby Hour, a podcast produced by our company, Ruby Riot Creatives. We specialize in video production and content marketing, and we're based in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm Shelby Ring.
And I'm Madeline Rager.
This podcast is devoted to interviewing extraordinary people doing extraordinary things and nuggets of wisdom that they've learned along their journey. Also, just want to give you a heads up, we have potty mouths and we're talking about inappropriate things. So thank you so much for joining another session of the Ruby Hour. I am Shelby Ring, your host, and I have an amazing guest with me, the brilliant Sunny Dublick. So she owns a full-service marketing company here that specializes in working with startups and small businesses, that sweet spot being 3 to 5 employees, and of course a range of people that are starting up, even smaller than that, and mid-sized companies. But oh my gosh, Sunny, so I have to say that we connected the dots of I am always looking for people that have a specific wheelhouse in marketing and wanting to know, how is it going in the trenches on your end? What are trends that you're noticing and your journey of coming into the creative space that you are in? So what got you started in marketing? What was your journey?
So it's a long and twisted tale. No, I'm just kidding. So originally, I'll be completely honest, when I was going to college, I had no idea what I was going to study. And my mom was pushing me, study business. In her mind, she's like, you'll make money with business, right? And I think it was like, you'll make money and you can move out eventually.
Yeah.
So I wound up studying business. And then as you're taking classes and kind of going through, I wasn't a finance girl, I wasn't an accounting girl, and I really kind of struck this interest in marketing because of the creative aspect of it. So growing up, I always loved to paint and draw. I still to this day am an artist, and I think I wanted something that could really apply that kind of visual aspect of things to the psychology and the science behind things. And so I was lucky enough that I was able to study in Rome, and I studied fashion brand marketing, which is awesome. Yeah. Oh, it was so cool.
My gosh.
But when I was there, it really just kind of struck a chord with me of just seeing all of these different designers and how they were able to really reflect their brands and bring them to life. And I got more into the idea of I really want to work with branding. I want to be the person, in my mind, I was going to be CMO at this major company.
Oh, yeah.
And really, kind of help them advance their brand. And then obviously you graduate and life doesn't kind of take that turn.
Yeah.
But regardless, it definitely was something that I had a big interest in. And luckily for me, I found an internship just out of a little bit in college and then a little bit out of college that was a sensorial branding firm. The owners I'm still really close friends with. They're great guys, but they definitely gave me my first shot, which was awesome. And from there, kind of bounced around trying to find my place. I think at first I was really gung-ho, I wanted to work in an agency space. Yeah. It just sounds so cool, right?
It sounds fancy.
It sounds very fancy. And I went to really big agencies. I went to really small agencies. I went on the client side and then back again. And I'll be completely honest, I just never found a situation where I was completely happy. I still loved the part that I loved about marketing, but a lot of times I felt like I was just kind of being more of administrative assistant, kind of paper pushing things.
Yeah, implementing someone else's idea.
Yeah, and I really wanted, I love, one of the things that really drives me is my brain is always racing. I'm a Gemini, it's a problem. But overall too, it's I love brainstorming. I love coming up with new ideas. And I think just for so long, I felt like that part of my brain was kind of just shut off, and it was more focused on organization and just pumping out work. And in a strange twist of events, this was about, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, I got laid off from the company that I was working at. And I hit the panic button. I was living in Philly at the time. I was I got rent to pay. What am I going to do? Mm-hmm. And so a really close friend of mine had a very successful startup business of his own and was well, why don't you just make your own business? And I was kind of just what are you talking about? I can't just make my own business. Who does that? And it was kind of funny. He was no, you talk to an accountant, you register for a business, and then you go ahead, you build a website. You already know how to do this. You do this for everyone else.
Everyone else forever, yeah. Yes.
And he's and then you market yourself. I'm sure you know a ton of people that need help with, what it is that you do. And Yeah, that's kind of how Sunny Dublick Marketing was born. That's how I got here. I never in a million years thought that I would be on this journey. And again, I think like one of the like darkest days of like, oh my God, what am I gonna do, is actually something that was just quite a blessing. Kind of really turned things around on its head for me, and yeah, put me in a much different direction in my life that I'm very thankful for.
Wow. Yeah. And what brought you to Charleston specifically from Philly?
Beach. I love the beach.
Girl.
No, and this is just like a great area. And I think one of the things, there are no short, and I'm sure you know this, there's no shortage of pitfalls of having your own company, but then there's also an inordinate amount of like really, really, really great bonuses. And one of the ones that I'm really lucky to have is that I can really work anywhere. So I have clients in Charleston, I have clients in Philly, I have clients in West Virginia, Pennsylvania, like they're all over the board.
Cool.
Because as you know, kind of people just come and go and move around. And so it's really nice because I can really be anywhere, which has been a huge benefit to me. I'm a person too, like I love having that freedom and flexibility. It really just helps me feel free, you know?
Yeah, you've got to have that as a Gemini. Like,
yes!
I need to feel like I'm not tied down. I can like explore.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that a lot of times, like, I won't lie to you, like I had one of those moments where I like kind of panicked and I decided I was going to take a full-time job again. I was like, I think about a year and a half after I started my company.
Yeah.
I just kind of got really freaked out. Like, is this sustainable long term? Like, it's so much pressure on your own shoulders, right? And I did, and like I only lasted, I think, like 3 months, and I just had this feeling like every day going into work, it was like going into like a prison cell, because it was like I had to be here from certain times, even if I didn't have work to do. And I'm like, I'm just the kind of person, it's like I want to take like an hour and a half lunch and then I want to work till midnight. You know what I mean? Like, I love
working
that.
on your creativity, not just because someone told you to.
Yes. And someone said something to me once that I think kind of hit the nail on the head. And they were like, because a lot of times, you know, and even these 9-to-5 jobs, they're no longer 9 to 5. And everything is like, you're connected to your cell phone. So, you know, even after hours, you're getting people emailing you, messaging you, calling you. And I remember just kind of having this thought of like, I don't know why, like I'm like, I guess everyone's doing this, but I felt very resentful of it. And someone mentioned, they're like, well, you're literally like dedicating your life to someone else's dream. And that really just struck a chord with me where I'm like, yeah, because when it's in my business and it's all on my shoulders, I'm like, I got to get this done. You know what I mean? Like, I got to hustle. I got to work hard. But when it's for someone else, and especially if I don't really feel like I'm part of that vision, and if I'm really on board with that, then it just feels like it's just a job versus a passion. So I think that's kind of where I'm a person, I think that like I need to have my own thing going on. I've realized that.
Well, and I love that, you know, that you found that connection or that realization in yourself where you were like talk to me about you know, your creative patterns of you know, what's your take on the work-life balance? Like, what is your sweet spot? Which I feel like, as you know, whether you're a solopreneur or having a small business, it's like, you know, there's always that joke like, oh, what is free time? But truly, like from a sustainable perspective, like what's worked for you and your personality when it comes to balancing you know, the demands of deadlines with clients and whatnot, and then also recognizing like, I got to take care of me.
And I think that that's so important, and it's definitely something that like no one tells you entering into this. I feel like I'm definitely a person, like even as far back as like high school, when you had like that group project, I was always the one that was like, last hour, no one did their stuff. Like, I'm doing, you know what I mean? And so I think that from a young age, I developed this sense of trust in myself that like, I'm going to get this done. And even there's times when I'm like, there's no way, there's too much. I think even like it was this April, I took on a lot of projects at once. And again, sometimes it's like feast or fast, right? That's just the way that things go. And I remember like I was working till like midnight almost every single night. And then coming out of that, it was like a very slow period. You know what I mean? So I realized, I was like, you know, you've taken no time to care for yourself. You know what I mean? Like, I think I ate Taco Bell literally like 3 times in one day.
Oh, yeah.
And I love you, Taco Bell, if you're listening. But I kind of realized that, and I started putting into place like blocks of my time that it's like, I'm going to the gym, even if it's in like the middle of the day. Sometimes I would schedule it, because it's like, if I do not do this for myself, my mind doesn't work as good.
You know?
And even like I'm a big person with yoga. I'm also like an obsessive reader. Like I read like 3 or 4 books a month. I'm insane.
Whoa.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm a speed reader too. People make fun of me. They're like, Sunny, you're not actually reading. I'm like, I am. I just read really fast. But I found that when I take that time for myself, that I am so much better going back into it.
Yeah.
And so I think that, and I've also had people kind of like push me on that end too, because otherwise, and I think like you're probably of the same opinion, like sometimes you're just, I need to go 1,000,000 miles a minute until I get everything done. But when you're going that fast, you're going to crash. And I have, and it's not fun. It's not pretty.
Yeah.
And part of the reason is like I love what I do because you have so much more control over the projects you take, the clients you work with, right? And I don't like what I do when I'm in that stressed out crap position, right? So I'm not going to lie to you and say that I've never gotten there, but I think the more time that I've spent with my business, the more lessons I've learned. And one of the ones that I have is that sometimes certain projects aren't worth it, or certain timelines you just need to push out and set for yourself and say, you know, unfortunately, like this is going to have to get pushed out a week. Is that all right with you? If not, well, can we move around? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like giving myself that flexibility, I think is really important. Again, it's hard work when you're on your own because there's no one sometimes to look around to and be like, am I doing this right?
Yeah, right? Like, does that look good? I think it looks good. Do you think? Yeah.
And I think that sometimes, like, especially if you don't have anyone being like, hey, it's like 7 o'clock, you've been going at it all day, like you just need to take that accountability for yourself. So I even started blocking off, like I have on my calendar every day, like eat lunch for an hour.
Wow.
And it's not necessarily because I won't, like I know I'm gonna get hungry, but I will just blast through and then all of a sudden I look up and it's 3.
Yes,
and I'm like,
for sure.
Where has my time gone?
We're just like Halloween candy. You know, we're filming right now. It's Halloween. Yes.
Yes. We're cats.
For those of you that are only listening, we have really cute cat ears on and we look adorable. So like picture us talking and looking so cute. Yeah. Yeah, I know. And it does, you know, I feel that so resonates with me of, you know, I've really this week, I work with like a really amazing life coach that, you know, when you work with someone for months and months, you find, you know, they're bearing witness to your patterns and like your tendencies. And I realized that at the beginning of this year, I was in a space where I was like, I need to just expand my territory. And so it was like, go to every networking event, like, you know, schedule coffees. I would have like 5 to 7 coffee or lunch appointments with people throughout the week. And like just being, and I had this, it was almost like from a place like a lack mentality of, if I don't say yes to this person, like, well, what if they know someone that needs our services? And it wasn't a place of strength that I was saying yes. And, you know, I feel like there's such a combination of, at times, you know, if I don't say yes to a lot of things very often, and if I'm not perpetually throwing myself in front of challenging, like, extroverted environments, that muscle gets weak for me, and I like get in my head and I get all weird, and it's like if I'm doing like sales calls, I'm like so tricked out and nervous, versus if I'm confident and I'm doing that on the daily, there's an ease with it. So the mix of strengthening that, almost, you know, maybe you can call it like your sales muscle or your prospecting muscle, mixed with, you know, okay, I need to just keep saying yes and grow our network. But at this point, and with the capacity that we're in, I'm recognizing like, no, how can I say yes to the right things and value my time just as much as maybe the value someone I might meet with has, but really jealously, you know, the statement I've had is like, how can I build my fortress? How can I build our energy of within our business? Where is our best creativity? Because those connections are valuable, but when it's at the cost of like, I am overexerting myself, I'm overextending than me as a leader, then I'm like, well, I'm just like crap in front of my computer to do creative work. So it's that balance of how can I find the sweet spot of, okay, like go, push, and then be like, okay, this is what's true for me in this moment. And like you said, you know what, this project, it's too much right now. I need to give myself permission to push it a little further along so I can catch my breath, actually have lunch at a decent time.
Yeah, live my life.
Yes, like have a social life, have some form of that care. So you've mentioned, like going to the gym, that yoga's a practice in your life. What are some other, I love asking people, what's like self-care that has like resonated for you?
The beach.
Really?
I am a person that like, I always like joke with people like I was a mermaid in another life, but I love being by the ocean.
Really?
It is just like literally the definition of Zen. When you are at the beach, it is just like the most calming experience for me. And I have a phenomenal, I'm going to quote this, she was the world's cutest Boston Terrier. I take her, she's adorable. Oh my God. Her name's Casey. She's 13. She's the best. But so sometimes, like for a while, I was trying to get in the practice. I am not a morning person. I am a bear to get out of bed in the morning. And it is one thing that I cannot stand, because I think that I envy people so much who are like, I get up at 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. or like, what was it? Mark Wahlberg gets up at like 3 in the morning. Goes to the gym for like 2 hours, and in order to kind of like force myself to be more of a morning person, I started trying to get set up for like sunrises at Folly with her.
Oh yeah, okay, cool.
And so that was just like such a great way to start my day, because I started it in such a different mentality. And even like little things, like if I am under so much pressure and stress and like I take her for a walk, it's so funny how all of that's like in your head, and it's like, the world is ending.
Sound the alarm.
Exactly. And then it's like and especially like animals, because they're so just like immune to any of the like BS chaos and stress that we go through.
Yeah.
And it's funny, she snores too, so like she'll be in my office and like I'll be on a conference call and you'll hear her snoring. And it's just one of those things that's like reality check, right? And I think that like I'm a person too, like I love animals, always have, and I think that that's something that really just kind of like grounds me. And I think that we all need that at times, because otherwise if you're thinking like eating, living, breathing your business, which like ultimately I found my business is 100% harder to shut off than any other business I've worked for, because like God forbid anything happens, like I am the only person right now at the moment that has accountability for that. And so for me, it's like you need to find those things for you. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so whether that's like little trips, even just calling a friend, you know what I mean? Even to vent or just to talk about things. It's just like whatever works and just kind of takes you out of that zone. Because once you're out of it and you can kind of see like, okay, that really sucks, but it's all going to be fine.
Yeah.
Like, and I always use the metaphor, like when I'm thinking about this, I'm like, okay, I'm going to fast forward like 3 to 6 months from now. Is this going to matter? Probably not. You
love
know?
that.
Yeah, because I think that we get so caught in moments, right? And I'm definitely guilty of it too. God forbid, especially like the nature of what I do, there's like a need for perfection. God forbid, even like, so some of my clients like I work with on social, like God forbid you post like one thing, like all of a sudden it's like 20 million people could be attacking you.
Yes.
I once did like a typo and it was like 30 people were like outraged. So sure. it can be scary, and I beat myself up a lot about the mistakes that I make, which stinks, because you always, again, sometimes you're running so fast and you do the best you can. But I always like the biggest measurement of my success to myself, because I don't like to measure it against other people. I think that's just a waste of time. But it's like, did you literally do everything that you could? Because I feel like I'm a person that tries my hardest, and even sometimes like things fail. Everybody has that, right? Everyone has failures. And when I have those, I think my biggest question is like, was that because you weren't trying enough, or like you were just being like negligent, or like did you literally try and it was just a mistake, you know? Because that's all you can do.
Yeah.
You know? And I hate getting down about on myself for like the stupidest little things. Again, it's like you take that and you put it in perspective. You're like, in the great like state of everything going on in the world, does this really matter?
Yeah.
I try to kind of reality check myself sometimes. I have to.
I mean, I feel like that is such a nugget of gold, because anybody that's going to be prone to want to be, to go for starting their own business or, scaling, especially when you're carrying the work of, okay, this matters because I have X amount of employees. And, especially in the small business space, like I can see how you probably add so much peace of mind for the people you work with, because there is that tendency of, that perfection is such a negative, but like to do your best, to be driven to, score in that best of, okay, hopefully there's very rarely, if ever, typos that ever get past you, right? Because you are representing the image of someone, but also I love that tool of being like, all right, that sucks. And was it negligent? Was it truly an accident? Look through the data of it rather than, I know I tend to be really hard on myself too, or always push. And I feel like so many women leaders, and I'm sure men as well, but, being in my own shoes, it's like, we want to do the best or be the best. And so that's gold, to be able to recognize, okay, like, let's stock the facts here. What was data? Was I hungover and didn't care and I was just, or was it like, no, I literally was trying and I had a lot going on and this happened and that sucks and we're going to keep moving. That's, oh my gosh, that's amazing. So I always love to ask people that are in the digital field, like you are, what do you feel like social media, we're in the end of 2019, we're spearheading into 2020, you're probably observing all of these trends and have been for the last few years. Where do you feel like people are really engaged? What are people wanting out of social media this day and age?
I think it's so much more about video content and stories. Which is hard because I am someone like, in order to be super organized, like I do content for my clients in advance and I schedule that content, and now it's kind of shifting into like everything almost needs to be in real time, which can be really challenging for brands. So I think that video content, which lends so nicely to what it is that you guys do, but it's, to be honest, it's what people are looking for. I just did a presentation 2 nights ago. Yes, I'm like, where is this week on? But at the Charleston Artists Guild, because so I'm a member there, and I'm also on a marketing committee, and they basically asked, they were saying like, a lot of our artists don't know how to market their work, so can you come and give us like a tutorial of what we need to know? And I was going through the Facebook algorithm with them, and I was like, I'm really sorry for what I'm about to present. It's yawn worthy.
Buckle up, y'all.
It's kind of crazy. I can't really exactly put my finger on it, and then as soon as you do, they change it again anyway. But kind of talking about the content that people want to see, and the content that Facebook prioritizes is mostly video. Really? And it's, again, unless it's like something that's super, super, super engaging on some kind of other format. And also depends, like a lot of like the really big brands win in these cases, and a lot of the smaller brands don't. So there's a lot to the shifting digital sphere, and it's changing like every single day. I like, even Pinterest, I don't know how many people that you work with use Pinterest. Only a couple of my clients use it, but they're transitioning into the advertising space a lot now too, which I think is interesting. Because really Facebook and Instagram have like run that space for so long. And I'm kind of interesting. We talked a little bit about like the bubble popping. I'll be interested to see, because at some point, it just came out that for the first time ever, digital spending and advertising has outperformed more like traditional media, like print. Which is actually very surprising to me. I thought it would have been a while ago that happened, but I don't foresee that spend going down. But I foresee like even Snapchat now is starting to add like catalogs to their like overall offering of digital advertising. Oh my gosh. So a lot of these different platforms are starting to like wisen up to how much money and opportunity is there. So I think that maybe it's a bit of diversification too. So sorry, that's a really long answer.
No, but it's so true. Like, what do you think on a practical, because I mean, I can't tell you like how many conversations Madeline and I have had of, we're, I was born in 1990, so I'm like on that cusp of, now there's like the TikTok generation and whatever, and I'm like, why? I'm like, this is just the ultimate like ADD, you know, whatever we want to like cast on an entire generation of people of this short attention span thing. And, oh, well, you know, Tommy he can't pay attention in school. And it's like, well, our whole information era has turned into 3-second clips.
Yeah.
How do you expect them to read a book?
Yes.
So it's like just this fast, like, it's almost like fast food for our minds, and this like scroll frenzy and like all of that experience. But really, from a consumer perspective, because like obviously, you know, like we've had a few accounts where we're responsible for clients' social media, and it's like it sucked our souls dry. You know, we like to really have a little more of a spearhead around, you know, what is going to happen with it. But I feel like people want real life. They want it. They don't want to see the perfectly curated aesthetic. It's like when I see the, you know, amazing mom blogger that's like has some great story and it's all perfect, I'm like, that's cool. But my favorite thing is like, where's the iPhone photo? Where's the snap of whatever went wrong? Where's them showing their flaw or their, you know, just like being real. You know, I feel like that's something that people are seeking, is they're like, don't show me the curated thing. That's not what my life will ever look like. Inspire me with who are you in the face of it not being perfectly, you know, pinnable or what have you.
Exactly. There was Jennifer Aniston, I think, just started an Instagram. Like, the world has gone crazy because it's Jennifer Aniston. But she put up some kind of post, and it was like Instagram versus real life post, which is funny. Again, like coming from someone of her caliber. But 100%, I feel like authenticity is something that everyone is looking for. And I think that a lot of brands struggle with that because they don't know who they are and not how to be authentic without coming off as like unprofessional or unpolished.
Right.
So I think that that's definitely a challenge there. But it was interesting when I was giving that presentation last week. I had someone ask, they were kind of saying like, okay, well, you have your target audience and so you should create art for them. And I was like, no. Opposite way around. I was like, you should create what it is that you feel like you need to. And like, it's like the field of dreams. If you build it, they will come, right? But 100%, I think that the more almost every like successful influencer, blogger, all of that has started that shift of like, now all of a sudden the posts aren't like hyper filtered and all of this, and they're moving towards like, this is how it actually is, and like, this is my process for getting this together. There was something, I am shameless with some of like the BuzzFeed articles that I read, but there was one of like the top European destination spots, and it was like Instagram expectation versus reality, and like showing how extremely crowded they are and like all of that. But I mean, some of these things that you see, like, again, it's built almost this fantasy world for people. And mental, like, health-wise, there's been a huge pushback, and I don't know if it's definitely going through, but like the latest I heard was that Instagram was going to remove likes because they didn't want people to like think that that was a measure of their success. Which I kind of love. I love that. Because I think that, I mean, in marketing, you always like tell clients that's a vanity metric anyway, right? But I think,
because there's people creeping for days. Don't get me started on the creepers.
But I think it's true. I mean, I think I've always said that, like, when I have kids, like, I never want to see them on social media because I don't want them to think that is. I think that a lot of people are now posting things like, God, you go out to dinner and like people can't even enjoy their dinner without taking pictures of it. And it's funny because like I do social media myself, but I've actually been on a social media hiatus for my own personal account. And I've told people, I'm like, it just doesn't make me feel good about myself. You know what I mean? Like, I see why it makes sense for brands and for marketing purposes. But me personally, I'm just like, man, like, I want people that want to interact with me to like call me and be like, hey, how you doing? You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm at. But, you know, I guess we'll see.
So I feel like people that are in the space of having to manage social media, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but it's like, yes, like you know, and we just had a good friend of ours that is a filmmaker, and he realized that this whole frenzy of the like FOMO, it didn't happen if you didn't take a picture.
Yep.
And like, you know, he referenced like he went on a trip to Italy and like brought all of his gear and was like, and found himself getting worked up in a tizzy of, well, I gotta make a recap about this, gotta use it for my portfolio. And it's like, when does work ever turn off?
Yeah.
You know, and putting it away. So it's like the gift of seeing, like, you know, where when you're in the space of like tracking and understanding, somebody told me, it's one of my friend's weird boyfriends. He's like weird esoteric, but he was like, when something's free online, you are the product. And I was like,
well, that's interesting.
What? But he was like, anything you ever post onto Instagram, onto Facebook, you are the product. You are the reason your friend would join, because they want to keep up with you and they post to keep up. And so we are like freely giving, like we're what keeps the machine going. That very concept of FOMO, of I have to do this, I have to keep up with it used to be called keeping up with the Joneses. Now it's called FOMO.
Yeah.
So
or
it's
Kardashians.
like, yes, and it's like being able to just step away and be like, oh wait, like staring at this like 3x5 index card of a, you know, data black hole of Insta content. Yeah. It's like, turn it off, go for a walk, and look at some people in the eyes.
Yeah.
You know, that's real connection. And this whole social media has so disconnected, especially, you know, I feel like the generation right underneath mine, you know, like through the years, I've brought on maybe 6 or 8 other videographers, and I've trained people or done College of Charleston interns. And the biggest thing that I've looked for is like, it's so hard to find people the limiting belief that I have is that it's really challenging to find young people today that know how to walk into a room, eye contact, shake your hand, and can hold a conversation. And like, you know, gotta brag on my girl Madeline over here. It was like, you know, she so stood out to me that it was like, where did you come from? How do you have such great air of making someone feel comfortable, being able to keep a conversation going? That grace that used to be social etiquette, and we've replaced it with social media. Yeah. And so I think that this whole trend of, you know, the like influencer bubble and whatnot, I just think that as consumers, and as, you know, I can only speak as a woman, I haven't been a man for a while, but like, you know, to be able to be like, you know what, this doesn't make me feel good, or like our brains are trained to constantly compare and contrast. Well, oh man, does she look better than me? Am I on par with that? Or being like, wow, that looks really fun. They're at some Caribbean exotic place. Okay.
I wish I was there.
Ooh, yeah. I wish I was not who I am in this moment.
Yes, exactly.
And it's like, how many of these, I mean, in marketing speak, it's the aspirational content. Yeah. Put something out that makes someone wish they were better than who they are. Yeah. You know, that whole tactic of like, well, if you were on this family vacation, then you would feel blah. Yeah. And it's like, nah, I'm gonna turn it off. Yeah. I'm gonna go hang out with my family, my kids, whatever, go talk smack with my girlfriend on the phone, and like, that's real life. Yeah. So that's like, it always makes my heart happy to like hear those observations from someone else that's in the field, because I feel like it's like important to build awareness and reminders to people of like, you know, I think that we're all getting tired of the comparison, of the keeping up with the Joneses, if you will, of the like modern social media age, and that, you know, how can we reconnect with just being fully present with our family? And what if we journaled our positive experiences rather than took a picture of it and showed it for other people? Like, what's the why behind, you know, I had, bless one of my girlfriends, her mom was pressuring her into being a part of this big sporting event. Come, bring your husband, do all these things. And it was also she could impress some of her friends. Yeah. It wasn't even about having a good family moment. It was like she wanted to go, you know, show off the kids that are grown now, and that would make her valid. And that's sad. But how many of us do that and utilize this platform of social media? Here's me and my perfect family. Yeah. And like, I lived in a house downtown off Buffane. It was beautiful, and people would take pictures in front of it all the time.
Yeah.
And I got those mirrors, those window mirrors, or they like, it shows people's reflection.
Yeah.
So watching people come up to like an idyllic, like Charleston charm, you know, house that's been converted. But I would watch these moms come up. They would like make sure they looked really perfect. Whatever. They like straighten their kid up, and they'd be like, "Get over here! Get over here now! Put those rocks down!" And then they'd be like, "Smile!" And they'd be like, "Oh, like perfect family!"
Yeah.
And she'd be like, "Drop that! Drop it right now!" Like total monster. But then pause to take the perfect selfie and be like, "Oh my gosh! Like mommy son time! Like love Charleston!" Hashtag. And it's like
my little angel.
Oh,
Yeah,
I mean, it's like I wish I had like a hidden camera, but it's like, how can we create that action to bring us back into reality?
Yeah, I think so. There's I'm such a nerd this way, but I love to quote books that I've read because I keep like a list of all my favorite quotes. But there's this book called The Tiger's Wife, and there's one point where like something crazy happens to the main character, and she's talking, I think, to like her grandfather or someone, and she's saying that like, oh, I have to tell X, Y, and Z, and he's like, and if you do, this moment no longer belongs to you. And I think that just like when I like at times like I start thinking about that, because there's times when I'm like, oh my god, like this outfit looks awesome, like I am on point today.
Yes.
And I'm thinking about like, oh, like I want people to see this, but then I'm like, you know what, like what if like just, I think it's like a self-satisfaction thing of like, what if it's just like you being like, yes, like this is good, this is cool, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And I think that like too, like with time, I've definitely like gotten to that point where it's gotten easier, because I think before like there was a ton of pressure to like, I don't know, just like I guess make people like see like how great your life was, even though sometimes it's like you're posting pictures and like you said, it's like, you know, here's this like great picture of like us at like, you know, so and so bar, and then it's like later that night I was, you know, so and so got like sick and threw up and, you know, was laying in a pile of trash in the parking lot. Yeah. So it's one of those things that I think just like over time I've just come to realize I'm like, I don't need anybody's like else's like approval with things. And what I've done for myself, so like for purposes of my business, I do have a Facebook account that like talks about marketing stuff.
Yeah.
And then my art business, I have an Instagram account. But my secret there is that I've only followed other accounts that inspire me. Oh. So that when I do like scroll through my feed, it's just like artists I love or tutorials that I love. And I don't feel like I'm going to look through and like see all of these things that just like fill my mind with other clutter. Yeah. Like for me, when I'm in that space, it's just about like inspiration and creativity. And so like, again, like I don't think that that's wrong for anybody to do. You know, it's kind of like a weird, I agree with you. Like I almost feel bad kind of for the next generation. There was this stat that it's like the millennial time span is like 8 seconds and Gen Z is around 4, because it's like you're just bombarded with so much information, right? Yeah. And there's again so much pressure for you to like put out your own content and be a part of this giant, you know what I mean?
Yeah. To stay, you know, quote, relevant.
Yeah. Whatever, I don't care if I'm relevant.
I want to be irrelevant.
Yeah.
Well, and even like, I love, like, you know, the purge of the social media thing, of even being like, if someone's content triggers that moment of, you know what, like this is taking me out of my center. Like I similarly did the same thing where, you know, like I have been gifted with premature ovarian failure, and so it's like I genetically was born without eggs, and the journey I've had with that, and the challenge of all my friends my age are popping out babies, they sneeze the wrong way and they get pregnant, right? And so it's like the processing my own journey, my own grief, my own, you know, full spectrum of acceptance of myself and my sexuality, of okay, how am I whole? You know, what does that look like for me? Am I less than because I don't have these genetics, or is it separate from that? And so I had to go through a time of unfollowing friends that maybe I grew up with or what have you, where it was just babies, or like baby bump pictures or any of that, because
I hear you.
You know, it wasn't serving me at that time. It wasn't something that brought me, I didn't feel better after picking up my 3x5 you know, technology wormhole. So it was like, you know, that's so powerful And I feel like if people, because I can already hear like some of my girlfriends where like, you know, we've confided in things like this, I can already hear them be like, well, I don't want to offend whoever if I like unfollow them, if I don't, you know, what if they see I'm not following? And I think it's to be like, give yourself permission to take care of you. You're not following them for their behalf.
Yes.
Or if you are, maybe you should look at that.
Yes.
And, you know, but it's like it's a level of self-care translating into the digital space that we all, you know, live in. It's a part of our day in, day out.
Yeah. I once, I unfriended someone because it was like, I hadn't talked to them in like 10 years. And I was like, I'm probably never going to see them again.
Yeah.
And there's like, I guess, somewhere on Facebook where you can find out who defriended you. Yeah. Yeah. And they messaged me.
Oh my
God. And they were like, you defriended me.
They were like, and it applies, they think it applies to real life too.
Yes, but it's like, we're not even friends. And like, again, I think that it's so easy to get caught up in like what is fake and what is real is actually like what's going on here and now. And I think that that's really important to remind ourselves all of the time. I think that that's been really important too for like going back to just self-care. Like for me, because like same thing, like I would go through and I remember the feeling of just like honestly being like, A, I wasted my time, and B, this just doesn't make me feel good. Like even though like a lot of these people that I'm connected to, like I love and everything like that, like nothing here is like pepping up my day. You know what I mean? If anything, it's just like all right, like back to the grind while everyone's in Italy and Spain.
Yeah, right.
And, you know what I mean?
Someone's eating a good cheeseburger right now.
Yeah, exactly. What am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
And I think too, like the lifestyle that we've chosen as entrepreneurs can be very hard to understand too for other people. And I think sometimes too, like I look at people that are, you know, doing all these different things, and I'm also like, oh my God, like it just seems like so simple. Like you don't have to worry about like stepping away, and you know what I mean? Like, can I actually like take us like all of that time? And I started to realize, I'm like, you know what? I think what peps me up, what makes me a better person is surrounding myself with like-minded people that understand or can at least appreciate what it is that I do with my business. You know what I mean? Because like for a long time, I convinced myself that I was less than because I'm like, oh, like I have like, I almost had this like imposter syndrome of like being embarrassed about telling people what I did. Like I have my own company. And someone said that to me. They're like, you always say it with this weird like, oh, like, you know, I do freelance, like I have like this like, you know, Sunny Dublick marketing, and I would feel embarrassed about it because I had this sense of people going to be like, who does this girl think she is? Oh, I have my own company. Like, you know, people would be like laughing behind my back, and I started realizing, and I'm like, no, dude, like you're a badass. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yes. And I think that because it was like, I didn't really have like that kind of community, which is why I love local shout out to Hatch Tribe, because yes, Hillary is great in kind of cultivating that. And again, it's like talking to people like you, it's like, okay, like you're not alone. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because there's such this sense on social of like you're with all of these other people, but you're not really. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So it's like I just have started finding like I love like Hatch Tribe events, member circle stuff, so that you can kind of, you know, connect with other people. Me personally, just like the connections I've made, sometimes it's just like a rough day and you just need to like bitch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just call up somebody and be like, blah, 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 that's awful. Yeah. What am I doing? And even like just like having those people in your lives, like legit connections where people that when you're down, like there's been, I can't tell you, like there's so many times when like I'll just spiral and I'll be like, is this sustainable? Like I'm 33 years old and like what am I doing? Yes. And you know, having those questions and literally like needing to be talked off a ledge, but just having those people there that understand and are like, you keep going, like this is part of your growth process, you know? So no, it's like surrounding, it's that like-minded thing of otherwise, if you don't have people in your life that get the entrepreneur space or, you know, being, the scaling element of it. And like I heard this thing, and I just worked with my life coach around like redefining this, but I heard this theory that you've got, if your life was a stove and there's
you've got your like personal, like if you're in a romantic relationship, you've got your health, you have your career, and you have your friendships. And this limiting theory is that you can only be really great at 2 of those at a time, and the other 2 go on the back burner, or they maybe take a little bit of a hit. And I was like, no way. And I have recognized that the way I've set myself up, and I'm really evaluating, is, if I'm going balls to the wall with my business, and then maybe I come home and, my partner, he gets like some of the scraps of what's left over, or, it's like my friend world might be like totally, I might perceive I'm like, being negligent of my relationships.
Sure.
So it's, I am choosing to like restructure that, to recognize I do have the capacity to find balance. And I think that the 4-burner thing, it's like we tend, if we're not conscious about it, so we go balls to the wall, and then other things suffer. There's always a hit. But I think that is the journey of, being an entrepreneur, or being just a trail blazer. And even if you do work for a company as well, that it's that art of balance and the self-care of when I put my oxygen mask on, that I'm able to bring that fresh air and support to my relationships, to my friendships, to, my clients as well. And of course, to yourself of, when you take that time and go to the beach and, have your feet in the water, or like walk with your pup, it's that, okay, I'm seeing the forest for the trees. I'm coming back up. I'm good. Like it's like, that's the beauty of the journey, is that if we just magically rolled up and we were like, oh yeah, self-care, I got it like sectioned out. I have my lunch every day at like 11:30 a.m. and it's all good. It's like that, it is a sweetness.
It is.
You know what it's like to be like, oh, I'm crashing and burning, or being like, okay, like, this week felt good. I want to celebrate the balance. And no, it's such a journey.
That's one thing too that I think is like so important, and I forget who was talking about this, but like celebrating your successes. Because when you're like a lone ranger, you know what I mean?
You're
like
truck.
Yeah, like I had this awesome project that I did yesterday. Really, really, really cool company, and if he listens to this, I hope he's not upset by this, but like it was the first time I was doing a project like this. And I am just the kind of person where it's like, I'm gonna give it all all I got, and I'm gonna go for it, and I'm gonna hope for the best, and you know what I mean? And 9 out of 10 times that's paid off. There's been like a couple of times I'm like, got a little over my head. I've always finished what I started, but I a little over my head. But regardless, like he told me yesterday, he's like, you blew me away. Like, this is phenomenal. And it's like, so often I think when you work with different clients, a lot of times you're only used to hearing like, why did this go wrong? Or you know what I mean? And then when you hear something like that, like I was on cloud 9 and I'm like, I need to go out and get myself a bottle of champagne. You know what I mean? Like World Series style, shake it up. And like, you know what I mean? Because I just,
so good.
Sometimes it's like we get so like, you're just getting from one thing to another and like doing and doing and doing and doing, but it's like important to remember along the way like where stuff went real well, you know, and to kind of like give yourself that pat on the back, because I feel like I don't think I do that nearly enough. I don't think anybody does. So
that's a practical thing that's helped me with that, is jumping into the Hatch Tribe, the monthly planning or the monthly reviews that she does. And it's just been, it's the same format every time, but to take that 1 hour, and I think there's probably one tomorrow even, for the beginning of this month we're coming into. But that's helped me recognize like, where did I just come from? And being like, wow, I got this and whatever. Because like for me, practically, in the middle of 2019, I offboarded. I say offboarded. I think I made that word up. I let go my payroll, wealth advising, and like tax accountant, like bundle vendor that I really wasn't content with the dynamic that was happening, and it wasn't serving my end result of I wanted that streamlined. So it was one of those ready, fire, aim circumstances where I was like, I'm done. And then I was like, oh, wait, I don't have the next thing lined up. So, finding and researching local, I really wanted to bring all of my vendors locally, and I think they claimed to be local, but they just popped into Charleston and did a review, and they weren't really, I couldn't walk into their office truly. And so the journey of finding an accountant that resonates with me, a wealth manager that actually asks me and looks into my life versus like, I'll set up these, retirement accounts, and then you just throw some numbers at me, whatever you want. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I need you to support me and advise me. And, and then finding a payroll processor that is like so above and beyond. Marianne Storm, I'm giving you a shout out, girl. And, just being able to feel supported and scaling, as well. So it's like, that's something that, we just truck away and we're like, whatever. And then you're like, wait a second. No, that took time. It's under the hood of, the business strategy. It's not like my, next event videography client's going to be like, wow, I noticed you've really upgraded your payroll structure. Your accountant is on point. Like, they're not going to see that. But maybe they'll feel the wake of the support I feel in understanding or walking them through, here's our process, here's why, here's the rate we charge and why we're at that price point. Here's the peace of mind that we deliver. So
an accountant, though, dude, I will say, like, it is so important.
Yeah.
So important. My accountant is terrifying. I am so scared of him, but he always has his shit together for me. Yeah. And without him, I don't know what I would do. Yeah. Like, to be honest, like, that was one of my biggest challenges, because I was like, oh my God, like Social Security and like sales and use tax and doing it, and especially because I do business in a lot of different states. Yep. It can get messy really quick. Yeah. And I can't even tell you, like that's what I say, like, to anyone that's talking about like starting their own business. I'm like, all you need is a really good accountant. Like, and if you find that person that you feel like has got your back and understands, and you know what I mean, even if they're a little bit scary, but hey, it's kept me out of the IRS. I just think that any great vendor, at the end of the day, what they're providing usually is peace of mind. Yeah. And, it's like when we come and cover an event, it's like you pay our premium or, for whatever service because it's going to be done well. It's like that's what you ultimately hope to support your clients with. So, exactly, having that accountant. I just got an amazing bookkeeper that actually helps me understand, and like Madeline heard me on the phone the other day. I was like, I need you to break down like this P&L statement. Yeah. What does that mean? What does this mean? And I think that it's maybe it's daunting for some women that are like, well, like I had the hardest time for quite a while feeling like I had a legitimate business. Yeah. And it was like until I cleared a certain threshold, then I was like, oh, now people can take me seriously. But like that imposter syndrome of, it's like I used to think, oh, well, I'm a small fish. Like my accountant, I don't want to take up their time. Yeah. And it's like, fuck that. I'm charging, like they are taking money out of my account every month to be like on standby. I'm going to ask some questions. Yep. So it's like that value of recognizing for yourself that if you have vendors that can help you create peace of mind of understanding like what is happening in the day in, day out of your business. And I'm of the belief there's no such thing as a dumb question. And if you work with a vendor that makes you feel like dumb, you asked something dumb, maybe they're the dumb you shouldn't be working with. Yeah. No, I agree. It's like that is so crucial to like, as you said, it's like if we're creatives, and I feel like so many, especially women in Charleston, where they do have a creative, innovative thing they want to bring to the table in their form of art or production, that it's like we do hire people that have maybe a technical background so that we can be supported doing what we do well, which maybe it's more people oriented, or if it is like a physical good or, what have you. So, it's like surround yourself with a bunch of whizzes. Yes, whiz kids. And like two things I want to say to that. I like to refer to that as like your inner Regina George talking. Ooh. And like sometimes like, you know, you just, when you have thoughts like that are just like nasty and negative, and this is something I'm constantly trying to put into progress myself, but when I have like those kind of like stressful, like crappy thoughts, like I think it's important for everyone to start questioning, like, is that something that's actually like a true thing?
Yeah.
Or am I just being like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, is that just like a thought that's like not anywhere near like that it needs to be here?
Yeah.
But B, yeah, I mean, 100% like surrounding yourself with good people. I am lucky. I have a really great tech guy. Shout out to Rob at TechSwift. He is a local tech company. But I mean, computer problems are the worst. And like every time I've had an issue, like, thank God for him, because I don't know where I would be. And then, yeah, my accountant has just helped me so much to be like, I mean, he kind of just comes, like, I give him everything, he comes to the table, and he's like, here's X, Y, and Z. And to be honest, I don't ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Because I think it's just one of those things where it's like, whew.
Yeah. You're like, you just tell me what
Tell me what I need to pay you. Yeah.
Yes.
But it's so important to have those people. I completely agree. And just to feel that support, too. Like we talked about earlier, like even like that network, I think that's just like a really integral piece of, you know, owning the business world.
Yeah.
Like a
Sunny,
boss.
this has been amazing. How can people get in touch with you to follow up, to learn, you know, any more around marketing, any of that information? Where can they find you online?
So they can find me at sunnydublick.com, Dublick, and sunny like the weather.
SUNNYDUBLICK.com.
There it is.
Sunny. And then social, are you?
Yes, I'm on Facebook, Sunny Dublick Marketing, same. And then also on LinkedIn. So just find me there.
Boom.
Yeah.
Awesome. That'll be in our show notes. And for those that have listened along, thank you so much for engaging. For our viewers, as always, thank you so much. Please be sure to like, subscribe. If you have any further questions for Sunny, write them in the comments and we will do our best to circle around. And as always, I hope that you live a life filled with passion and that today you create a story worth telling. Cheers.